Hi. All right. So, a quick one. I remember when myself and my wife when we were courting, right? Don't worry. We would eventually do a very detailed video of how we began and the journey so far, right? But I remember quickly, when we began and all of that, and after I got my yes, it seems as though we put in so much effort, guys, right? Sometimes we put in so much effort into getting the yes, and just the same thing that happens with um, someone who is an athlete, right? And when an athlete is preparing for an event, they put in so much effort. They train hard, they do all of that. Sometimes, and of course, when you get to the finish line, is finally they've arrived, right? So I think sometimes men that is usually our experience. The journey to winning a woman's heart, right, is usually seen as an event, right? Once we have gotten the anointed yes, once we've gotten the anointed yes, we just go, wow, finally that worked out. And sometimes I don't blame you guys. Sometimes it's the whole stress that you have to go through to get a yes, a simple yes. Especially when you've been friends, it's apparent the both of you are attracted to each other and all of that, but yet just say yes, and she's just taking so much time and all that, right? But we want to talk about something very important today. What do you do after you've gotten a yes, right? You must understand that you don't. What do you do after you've said yes? You just continue doing what you were doing before, and maybe this time be a little more intentional, right? Because um, seeing a relationship as a trophy where you put in all the right effort before you arrive at your destination is a reason why most times um, um, ladies are frustrated. And of course, when I talk about this, I talk about this in a context, right? Christian relationship, right? Um, Relationship. I maybe on a different day we'll talk about that, the purpose of relationships, right? But um, it's important, right, that we note this. You don't stop chasing her, you don't stop prioritizing her. If maybe before you got a yes, she was you used to call her, check up on her, be patient when she's angry and all of that. Then right now you've gotten a yes, you feel, ooh, it's time for you to let the cat out of the bag. That has an advantage, and I'll talk about that in our next video, one of our subsequent videos. But it's important, right? Like I said, what do you do after you've gotten a yes? Continue doing what you were doing before, just that this time be a little more intentional with it, right? You don't stop finding out. I mean, find out what she likes. And as I'm saying this for the guys to the ladies, I'm also saying this for the ladies to the guys, right? Find out what she likes. I mean, no one says you should stop being all caring and daring and all of that because now you've gotten, so because I think, I mean, what played out for me was that mindset of, oh, finally, I have the cat in the bag. I have my wife now. She has gotten. I mean, we didn't marry immediately, right? We dated for a few years. Don't worry, we'll give you all of that details in due course, right? So I felt, I've gotten the yes. We are now dating. She knows I love her. So I wasn't intentional going forward. Right, there was no intentionality in what I was doing, and it began to frustrate her. Now, the problem, one of the things that I also think, ladies, you have to understand is when your mindsets are different, it takes a lot of patience for you to drive your point in, right? If you go all angry, you go all vexed, even though sometimes, some of us brothers, I was very annoying when we're cutting. I was very annoying, even though sometimes we can be very, very annoying, right? And that's what I give her credit for. She was patient, right? She was patient. She kept on talking, communicating, and these things are very important, right? So you ask me, what do we do after we've gotten a yes. Build intimacy, number one, right? Intimacy is not sex. That's an aspect of intimacy that comes in when you're married. That's why I said I'm talking to believers. I'm talking to people who want to do relationship the right way, right? And like I said, eventually we'll talk about the purpose of relationship, right? Now, build intimacy, right? Intimacy, just like when you pray, say you want to be intimate with the Holy Ghost. What do? You fellowship, you talk, right? The Holy Ghost has emotions, right? That's why he can be vexed, he can be grieved, right? And all of that. So you talk, you find out, okay, what would I do that the Holy Ghost would not be that wouldn't, in a sense, right, make him happy? Because if he can be vexed, then it means you can actually please him by your actions, right? So what do I do? What are the things the Holy Ghost doesn't like that I should start avoiding right now, right? Now that I've come into this relationship, all right, I have to avoid this. The last time I shouted at my neighbor, I felt unease in my heart, meaning my spirit within me wasn't comfortable with what happened. So you begin to pay attention to these details. It's the same thing you do, because I believe that spiritual brothers, spiritual sisters should be one of the most romantic people on earth. Because if you can sustain a relationship with the Holy Ghost, then you should much more, right? You should be able to do that with a human being, right? So if after you profess love, don't just drop it out there. I've said it to her, now she knows, let her just run with it. No, there's a lot of intention. In fact, for me, that's, as far as I'm concerned, right, that's where the major work comes in. So you have to now start studying how him, find out, okay, what for the sake of avoiding how him, back and forth, right? I'm just going to be using her, right? So what does she like? What are the things she doesn't like, right? How do I make her happy? Find out what are her love languages. Yeah, these things are important, right? So that is really where the work goes in. We're putting out this because we've found out that this is the source of most frustrations in relationships, right? People just get frustrated because the guy who was all caring, who used to call, who used to be nice, who used to send me lunch at work and do all of that, now that I've gotten he sends me flowers on my tables and all of that. He doesn't forget my birthday, he doesn't, all of that. All of a sudden now I've gotten a yes from him and he's just laid back, and he feels all right. All of the work was to build up to the point of getting a yes, but that's not it, right? You need to build intimacy, and intimacy is built with intentionality. You have to be very intentional, to have intimacy. It means you have to sacrifice a whole lot. Just think of your prayer life, your walk with the Holy Ghost, right? You have to sacrifice a whole lot, right, to keep that relationship going, right? There are times when you would want to, maybe people want to hang out, people want to, for a while. Before I got married, actually, right, a few times, Christmas period, when everybody is in the whole party spirit and all of that, I take it out, just spend some time alone, right? Just away from all that busy thing. Now, I would miss out on a whole lot of chicken, rice, salad, and all other, assortments that comes with, the whole Christmas celebration and all. A lot of outings, a lot of family hangouts, right? I'll miss out on a whole lot of that intentionally, because there were times when it would just be a nudge in my heart, right? Take some time away and just spend some time with me. So you can't successfully build a relationship without sacrifice and being detailed with what your spouse, your partner loves and doesn't love. And this also plays into marriage. Sometimes I think it happens most times for the men. After marriage, if now she's my wife, let's now chase other things, right? So you did all that effort, all that being romantic, just to give her that title of being your wife. So immediately, now that she's your wife, you have that trophy by the side, right? So let's go and chase other things. And you find out the woman is frustrated because the man she fell in love with is different from the man she's with right now at home. And it's frustrating. Very frustrating. Just imagine you got married to your wife and she was fair. She was very fair, and with all the calls in the right place and all of that. Then all of a sudden you go to the house and found out everything, but everything she had. They have these things these days, and those of you who get who fall in love on social media, I wonder how you do it, right? So then you go to the house, you found out her head is different. The person you thought was fair is actually dark. Her curves were actually artificial. How would you respond? It's the same thing you do when you take a woman home and she now sees a different side of you, that completely different side of you, from who she actually fell in love with. It's actually deception, right? So we work on it. So it's important. Continue doing, like I said, what do you do after you've gotten a yes? Continue doing what you were doing before, just that this time be a little more intentional. Build intimacy. Like I said, intimacy is not sex. Sex is one part of intimacy, but it's not all that there is to intimacy. Communicate, find out what he or she likes and give it to them. Find out what they don't like and avoid it. Maybe you should have that conversation with your partner. What are the things I like? Sometimes just have those conversations. What are the things I like? And maybe so that you don't embody them with incubate them with too much, you could just do it as a routine check between the two of you. Once in a while you have that discussion. What do I, and you're intentional. Say, okay, for this 1 month I'm going to keep at doing this thing for you, since I know you love this thing. And for the other person, and listen, you the way to please someone is by serving the person. And the rule for service is that you serve the person what he or she likes and not what you like. Now, I had an issue with a friend of mine, a brother, right, who I wanted to make a suit with him, and myself and some other persons actually wanted to make a suit with him. And when we went to meet him to take measurement and all of that, we told him exactly what we wanted, right? Specified what we wanted in exact terms to him, and he agreed. Only for the clothes to come to me, and I found out he did something entirely different. So when I asked him, I said, "This was not what we discussed. Why did you do something different?" He said, when he looked at the clothes, right, he felt like if he does it the way I said he should do it, that it won't work out. So he decided. Now, because he's an expert in that field, the right thing to have, he could have seen something like that. The right thing to have done would have been to communicate to me and tell me, "See, this thing that you said we should do, if I do it like this, it won't work. How about we do it differently?" If he convinces me properly, because he's the expert in that field, I would just go with what he said. But because he served me what he wanted, not what I told him to give me, I had an issue with it. Right? I had an issue with it. Doesn't mean that I shouted at him. I didn't even say anything. Right? But for me, the way I vet that I love what you do is that I keep coming back for more. Right? So that our relationship is still intact, but it's just on that base, on the base of him being my designer. It can't work again, because I can't trust that you give me what I want. It's the same thing with relationship. You don't say this is how I like to behave. This is what I like to do. So I'm going to continue giving it to you that way. Right? It's this thing I just said now looks like a little thing, but it's a huge issue. When people come and tell you this how it's done in my family and I'm going to continue that way. No. Except when what the person is demanding for is wrong, right? Yeah, except on that basis, right? But if it's not wrong, it's just an issue of perspective and idea. Service. You don't say you're serving, except you're serving the person what he or she wants. So it's important, right? I always say this, that if two persons come into a relationship and they don't change, then is either one person is not being himself or herself, or we have two pretenders. Because you can't maintain a state of status quo when you come into a relationship. It's like when you mix gari and water together. The water takes the taste of the gari becomes wet, right? If you put the two of them together and the gari is still dry, the water's taste has not changed, then something is wrong with that mixture. So it's important we note this, right? Serve, become friends, build intimacy, find out what they like. It can be something as little as getting gifts. Just give them gift at random. It doesn't have to be something big. I know how you love it to be perfect and all that, but that thoughtfulness in he knows I like gift, and you say maybe sweet, right? And of course, when you have the money, you go for something elaborate. But just to register that you're always on my mind. For some persons, it's just text message, words of affirmation. You don't say I'm not used to it. No, if you want to be an individual, then you shouldn't be in a relationship. Yeah. If you want to be an individual, the Bible says two will become one. If you want to be an individual as a person, sustain your own perspective and hold on to it, then don't be in a relationship. But the minute you say you want to be in a relationship, you're telling yourself, I'm willing to let go of some things, some ideologies, some patterns of belief that I've held on to for so long, if it's going to make my partner uncomfortable. All right. And so don't stop being the best version of yourself. Don't stop trying to impress that person, even though that's the word, right? Don't stop impressing the person, even though you've gotten a yes. Thank you.